The Odd Couple. Back in the 1970s, there was this show called The Odd Couple. It was Jack Klugman and Tony Randall. And it was two guys. They were both divorced. And they happened to move in together, or getting a divorce, and they happened to move in together and became roommates, because, hey, listen, throughout time, what's the best way to split bills is to have a roommate, right? So sometimes it's, a lover, sometimes it's your mother, sometimes it's your father. Who knows? But so anyway, they lived together, and of course it was a crazy pairing, and they wound up making it work because they had to work. Now, one was more of a slob, I believe, and they were called Oscar and Felix. So Jack Klugman, I think, was more the slob, and Tony Randall was more of the more neat, refined gentleman who was more worldly and cultured, and, he understood things about life a little more. Whereas though Jack Klugman was more like, you know what, we'll get it done. But still a good man overall. So the operative word here for me is odd. So, they were paired because of a certain situation. But typically when we get paired with our friends, we're paired because, whatever environment we happen to grow up in. And then as you go along in life, whatever commonalities you might have and things that we like. And, it's like, yeah, man, you know what I mean? You want to go there? Yeah, I'm going to. We're going to go too. Yeah, you like football, basketball? Yeah, yo, definitely. We're doing that. So you form these bonds with certain people because of the things that you like and the things that you perceive that they like. And you both get along. Hey, look, we're both strong Democrats. Hey, look, we're both strong Republicans. Hey, look, we just both happen to be independents. Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? I like the Eagles. What? You like the Eagles? I like the Eagles too. Well, oh no, but I like the Cowboys. All right, I'll give you a pass on that one for now. Or the Commanders. So you think to yourself, hey, listen, I got a nice group of friends. I got a good group of friends. I got a solid group of friends. And sometimes what happens is that there's a little erosion that may go on over the course of time. Because think about like a friendship, almost like a car, right? With a car, there's a light that comes on that tells you, you need to get maintenance done. Or sometimes there's a thing that says to you, hey, look, your 3,000 miles is up, so it's time to get an oil change. Or you can hear your brakes squeaking, so you go and change your brakes. But what happens when you start to go at odds with a friend? What do? I mean, there's no dealership that you can go into and say, hey, my friend is acting odd. Or because, very rarely will we say it about ourselves that, hey, I'm acting odd. So things just keep going on and going on and going on. And, a lot of times, because one thing you do with your friends is you suppress things. They may start to say stuff that you don't want to hear. They may start to do certain things that you may not necessarily do. Or it could be the other way. You could start saying things that they don't necessarily want to hear. Or you could start doing certain things that maybe they just don't care for. So what may start to happen over a course of time, because let's face it, we're all human and we all are selfish to an extent. Everybody wants to come off as, I'm so unselfish and such. Well, a part of survival is selfishness. So for you to survive and to feel good and to have these great feelings and endorphins, you want to do things that satisfy you, when after a period of time, that may no longer satisfy your friend. So what happens? You keep going. And you're going, and you're going, and then, boom, one day, you have a falling out, and you're like, well, dag, where did that come from? When did that happen? I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the oil change light on there, even though I know we've been going a little over 3,000 miles, probably about 6,000 or 7,000 miles. But, this is a good running car. So since this car runs so well, this car called friendship, I'm not thinking to myself, I have to do this. I just do the regular basic stuff. The basic maintenance to a friend: stay respectful, try to stay loyal, try to stay good, try to stay in good graces with people's families and loved ones or partners or wives or husbands. And sometimes it still just isn't enough. Because we've all gone through that experience before where we've had a friend, and then after years, after a certain period of time, the calls get fewer and fewer. The visits get fewer and fewer. And this is how you know when you really effed. The invites start getting fewer and fewer. You be like, yo, what's the name? Had a cookout and nobody invited me. Nobody told me. And then you're sitting there, you're hurt by it because you're thinking to yourself, wow, nobody told me that the brakes were tearing into the rotors. I had no idea. I didn't know that my friendship was eroding to this point. Or maybe I did. But I just didn't take the time to stop and say, hey, because think about it, especially, with guys. A lot of times, guys don't really get into a bunch of arguing matches with other guys. It's just not our thing. We may disagree about a couple things here or there, but then, we come back to reality or whatever, and, it's no big deal, and we go on to the other thing. Or after some of these debates, are we really taking score? Are we really, because have we gotten to the point where, in a way, you already feel the erosion of the friendship, but you don't want to say anything. You don't want to cause any drama. You just want to keep going, because we're trying to get this car to 200,000-300,000 miles. Because you know what? Overall, you love the person, you care about the person, and you want to keep riding with the person. So you say to yourself, hey, we ain't worried. I know the suspension is a little bumpy. I get it. I know that I usually like using 91 gas or at least 89, and they only like to use 87 because they cheap or they don't feel like paying for it or whatever. Although they know that it's going to not have the car drive as well as it's supposed to drive. And you think about it and you say, how many of us do friend maintenance? How many of us really check in with each other outside of when there's a major issue? And because humans aren't cars, sometimes the erosion is inevitable. Sometimes the erosion is irreparable. Because humans feel the way they want to feel. The same way I can sit here and talk to people till they're blue in the face. Hey, man, you know what? Listen, man. Hey, I want you to make sure you watch this every day. But I get it. People have lives. And does that make me think I'm less important to them? No. But I understand that the selfishness of my importance does not have to carry over or project to the importance I want someone else to have for me. And it is sometimes. It's a hard lesson to learn. You heard me talk earlier this week about, happy belated birthday and after the love is gone and, a couple of different things because we do. We're humans. We hurt. A lot of times guys won't come out and say it like, man, dog, I'm hurt about that. Because then people start looking at you like, what's up with bull? But you start thinking about it And you think about it, over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, however long you've known or had your friends or dealt with a particular friend. Some people only have one friend. I'm fortunate enough to have a bunch of good guys around. But then you start thinking and you say, dag, I'm a little friendship worn out with certain people. We haven't changed the oil. We haven't changed the brakes. We haven't changed the suspension. And we've been putting plugs in the back tires. And so you start to think to yourself, well, dag, what kind of friend have I been? And because the way I talk like this is because it's a two-sided thing. All of us out here have dropped the ball. I have dropped the ball. Sometimes people think that they're doing more, and they're worth more. And some people may not think that they're worth as much in a friendship. But still, these are things that you think about. And throughout the course of the week or whatever, when I talk to different people, just about different things. And, sometimes I'll hear about a friendship that kind of fell out, like a years long friendship that fell out. And when I think about it, two things. One, they're usually not too egregious. So it's not anything too ridiculous. And then the second thing is that it's typically a culmination of things. It's not just one thing. It's typically a culmination of behavior that the other friend just ain't feeling anymore. So when we think about our friendships, when we think about being a good friend, and unfortunately, a lot of times things do come down to money situations. People feel like, hey, you did me this way, or you could have did this better, or you should have, could have, or you bought drinks. I bought every time we go out. I buy the drinks all the time, and I'm telling you that will piss a person off. That will. Shout out to my homies Kevin, Jake, always on point with the drinks. So, we always go back and forth. But anyway, that sometimes when you start thinking about that, hey, look, we hang out all the time. You don't ever want to just pick up the tab. You don't want to just, do this. We always got to split everything, or you order 14 margaritas and all I had was a Coke. The bill comes out to $130 and I still have to give up $65. And all I had was a Coke. These are some of the things that start to wear on people. And, we'll talk about this. We'll revisit this somewhere again down the line. But just wanted to say, sometimes after a while with a friend, stuff just starts getting odd. And you don't know if you any longer want to be a couple with that person. Because the one thing about life is that, isn't it crazy when you go in somewhere and you just feel awkward? You ever been around a friend that ain't too friendly with you anymore, or vice versa, and it just feels awkward? Like nobody likes that feeling. Or when everybody else is talking about the person and then you can't really chime in because, you ain't spoke to the person in a half year yourself or a year. Doesn't it feel awkward? So this is what we're all going to try to do. At least I know what I'm going to try to do. You make sure you check on your friends. You make sure you're out there doing friend maintenance, because we got text messaging now, so it doesn't even take that long. But hey, it's only one guy's opinion. But I want y'all to enjoy your weekend, and we'll be right back at it on Monday. So until then, live life. Don't let life live you.